Today, I'm very excited. We have two people with us from Johns Hopkins. First, we have Reverend Matt Norvell. And Reverend Matt Norvell is a pediatric chaplain and the clinical director in the Department of Spiritual Care at the Johns Hopkins Hospital. He's endorsed and ordained in the Alliance. He currently serves on the Pediatric Palliative Care, leads the Children's Center Annual Tribute Service, serves on the Hospital Diversity Council, and is the Education Johns Hopkins Hospital Ethics Committee. He provides leadership support for the Johns Hopkins Hospital RISE, Resilience in Stressful Events team, which provides trained peer support for employees who encounter stressful patient-related events. Matt is one of the co-developers and presenters for the curriculum, which assists other healthcare institutions to establish their own peer support programs. We also have Cora Welsh, and Cora Welsh works as the team manager of a dynamic pediatric palliative care team at Johns Hopkins Children's Center in Baltimore, Maryland. In her role, Cora has the honor of babies, children, adolescents, young adults, and their find and celebrate joys and cope with tremendous difficulties. The central aspects of Cora's work are providing psychosocial support for families cared for by the palliative care team and follow-up care for bereaved families after the death of their child. Cora earned her bachelor's degree in wildlife and literature from Wheelock College in Boston, Massachusetts, a master's degree in pastoral and spiritual care from Loyola University in Baltimore, Maryland. We are very excited and appreciative that their team was able to join us today. So no further ado, I'll turn it over to Cora and Matt.
Thank you, Terry and Kelly. We're grateful to be able to be with you all in this unusual format, and it's so good. Come on, Seattle and Baltimore in the same room. It's pretty good. Cora and I really jumped at the opportunity to be able to do this because she and I have for many years now have worked with families that have experienced loss. And some of those losses, excuse me, some of those losses have been deaths. Some of those losses are new diagnoses and different pathways than anybody ever dreamed. And I have found that anything that I've been able to do as a chaplain, as a counselor, as a minister, anything I've been able to do has really been informed by inviting people to tell their stories and understanding the stories that people carry. Because that's really the stuff that connects us. And so we're really glad to be able to do this. I am wondering if we could let the rest, can we all get into the same room? Kelly, can you make that happen? And what we would love, and again, folks, if you see an invitation to be a panelist, come on in. We're not going to make you present anything unless you want to. Is that everybody? There's a few people coming over. All right. There you go. And if you want to turn your video on, that's cool. If you don't want to turn your video on, that's cool too. But since we've got kind of a manageable group, we wanted to give the opportunity for people to introduce themselves. And we thought that, because as we go through, this is going to be as interactive as we can make it. It's going to be a little bit workshop-y. And so I'm just thinking about the best way to do this. I'm just going to work my way around my screen. We'll have Cora introduce herself last. Well, so we'll work my way around my screen here. And if I call your name and you don't want to talk, that's cool. Just don't talk. But if you do, what I'd love to maybe get is at a minimum your name and your child's name, and then the condensed, just because we want to give everybody a chance to talk, the condensed version of what it is that you'd like us to know about your child in this space during the introductions. So we got soft me, soft Cora, and I am famous for mispronouncing names. And so I'm going to start with Cumdiglian. Am I close?
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I'm from India. Basically, I'm from India. I am from Delhi.
Okay.
My name is Kam Dinglian Guite. If it might sound a little bit hard to pronounce, but you can call me as Ding, the middle one, DING.
Okay.
Actually, I have my baby was born last year in September 30th, 2020, full trisomy 18, and then I lost her in April 6th this year.
Okay.
Over here, over here in India, it's 8:30 p.m. right now. I think out over there, I think it's 10 a.m. right?
Yeah. It's 10 o'clock in the middle and it's 11 o'clock on the East Coast. So thank you for sharing your evening with us.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ding. All right. Next I see is Chestnut.
Hello, good morning, good evening, everyone. So, Chestnut, now I'm in Singapore. The time is 11 p.m.
Wow.
So it's very excited. This is the first time I joined Soft Event. Thanks for organizing. So my baby is called Evelyn. She was born last year, October 16, and passed away 3rd of January this year. So she's also full trisomy 18. And maybe one thing just want to share is that I always wanted to bring her back home, and I'm very encouraged by all the parents, in this SOP organization, and so as well as the rare trisomy parents. So I always dream about bring her home, but unfortunately, I think she passed away a few days after the open heart surgery. Yeah, so also there's something that it's something that is difficult for me, that I wouldn't be able to bring her home at all before she passed away. Thanks. She lived for 80 days.
80 days. Thank you, Chestnut. Next one I see is Barb.
Hi, I'm Barb Van Haraway, and my daughter Stacy lived for almost 37 years. She had full trisomy 18, so we were blessed for a very, very long time. We lost her about 3 years ago, and it has changed our life. But Soft has also changed our life and kept us going, and as well as our little granddaughter that remembers Aunt Stacy every day. So that's kind of a little story about us.
Thank you, Barb. Joanne.
Oh, I knew you were going to call on me when Barb made me cry. So this is not my fault.
I have special skills. Yeah.
I'm in Western New York. And so I live close to Barb Van Haraway, and we had the pleasure of knowing Stacy, and that's wonderful. I am a grandma also, and we have a daughter named Martha who lives at home with us still. She's 31 years old and she has partial trisomy 18. And I'm a reverend also, but I'm retired from being a pastor.
Thank you, Joanne. Chris is the next person I see.
Hi, this Chris, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Nice to see you all this morning. I'm in Arizona, so I logged on with my phone and I was doing my hair. And so I don't know if I'm presentable or not. I just ran to the screen. Okay, good.
Looks great.
Yes, you're right. Baltimore and Arizona, Seattle, India, and all around the world, all together in the same room. This is humbling and does make me cry just on that alone. And yes, Barb, you make me cry. Barb was short and succinct, but I have to tell you, Barb's world is as as big as our world, and she could have told us a lot more. We couldn't have done. Soft is here because Barb is the glue of Soft, and we appreciate her so very, very much. I'll make it fast. Our daughter's name is Carrie Deanne Holiday. She was born 100 years ago in 1977, and like Barb, she changed our lives for the better. She lived for just short of 11 years, and it was a most remarkable journey, but it didn't end there. She continues to take us on a journey that we thoroughly enjoy, and we feel so grateful for our friends in Soft. Soft is our family, and we couldn't do this without him. But appreciate being here this morning because we miss her every day, and it's been over 40 years.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Kristen.
Hi, my name is Kristen Wild. I'm in Saskatoon, Canada, and my daughter Haley lived for 111 days in 2013. She had full trisomy 13, and I am now, well, I was then too, but I'm a social worker, and I work with a lot of kids who experience grief in many different forms. And the more I can learn about it, the better. And I have my personal experience with my daughter to help me work with kids, and that's who I love. Thanks.
Thank you, Kristen. Okay, Debbie. All right. Jessica.
Hi, I'm Jessica LaHoose. This is my daughter, Tabitha. She is almost 18 months old. She has, I believe, mosaic trisomy 18. She's still with us, obviously, but I just wanted to listen to your guys' stories. I do have, obviously, some grief about the diagnosis and her prognosis and what her life is going to be like. I have 2 older boys. I'm a stay-at-home mom with them and homeschool them and take care of Tabitha. Thanks.
Thank you, Jessica. And I'm so grateful that you came to this session too, because, you know, grief is not just a death-related thing. And so thank you. And we'll talk about that as we go along. So Emily.
Hi, my name is Emily Booth, and I actually don't have a personal experience with trisomy 18 or 13. I'm a pediatric genetic counselor in Mississippi, and got invited to this virtual conference, and this is kind of my first time to come to the conference. I've used some resources from SOFT's website for a while, and so I'm just interested to learn more and just to kind of hear from families to see if that can help tailor my counseling for families that I see here. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Emily. I bet you're going to fit right in. Thank you. Thank you. Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel Frank. I live in Underwood, North Dakota, and my son Edward had full trisomy 13. He was born on May 17th, and we got to spend 6 wonderful hours with him.
Thank you, Rachel. And then squares are moving on me. Daniela.
Hi, my name is Daniela. My daughter's name is Gabriela. She's 3 months old. She has full trisomy 18. And from like 13 weeks, I was told that she won't even be born alive. And she's still with us. And, you know, she has some episodes where she's not so good. And I keep on hearing that, you know, you need to prepare that any one of those episodes could be her last one. So there's a lot of grief involved with all of that.
Yeah. Thank you, Daniela. And I'm gonna mispronounce. I'm so sorry. Stefarita?
Yes, I'm Stefitra Anyebe. Yes. I'm Naya's mom. I was blessed to have Naya 3 years, 2 months, and 9 days. They only gave her 2 weeks to live. We didn't even know anything was wrong until 3 days after she was born in NICU. I mean, you know, had to go to NICU. And so Naya was very expressive. She was really smart. She was able to do things that they didn't think she could do. And so a lot of times PT, OT was like, oh my gosh, she's able to support herself, stand, or things like that. And she was always very happy and joyous. She barely ever cried from the time she was born. And she was always very expressive, vocal. And so we miss her very, very, very much. You know, it's just a daily struggle every day. And she's my only child. So the way I, you know, find ways to deal with it is by honoring her life with SOFT, you know, with some of the trisomy groups. We do special things, or like the hospitals still do services for the children, you know, that were treated there. They do services and butterfly releases and compassionate friends, things like that. I go to different annual events or picnics and balloon releases and things like that. So I keep it going, and I do stuff personally also, you know, myself with my family, or, you know, if my family can't be involved as much, I do it myself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Debbie, I can see you now. Did you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, sorry. My name's Debbie. Debbie Dye. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. My first experience with SOFT was Dr. Carey. And what a blessing that's been. I hate to be cliche. I had my daughter 7 months. And since I just went to the Garth Brooks concert this last weekend, the dance is my favorite song, because it's like, I could have missed the pain, but then I would have missed the dance. And I think of all the wonderful people that I have associations with now because of her, and the blessings that she brought to my life. They were 7 wonderful months, but the people that I've had the association with in SOFT have been my greatest blessing from that.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you. Okay, I think we got everybody. Cora, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cora Welsh, and you heard at the beginning that I work at Johns Hopkins. Matt and I both work together, and we often joke to each other that everything we've learned, anytime we're able to be adequately supportive to a family, we have learned those skills from parents who've experienced grief. And sometimes that grief is the death of their child. Sometimes that grief is the diagnosis, watching children develop at different rates. There's lots and lots of ways that grief shows up in people's lives. It's a great honor for me to be here. I hold all of you very much in my heart, and hold with gratitude your willingness to share with us, to talk about your children, all of your children, especially your children with a trisomy diagnosis. And I so appreciate you taking the time today to spend with Matt and I and each other. I do just want to note I'm in the middle of a pretty unfortunately timed cold, so I apologize if I mute suddenly. I'm just trying to save you from my coughing over Zoom. Luckily, there's no one to, no way to spread germs this way. So that's good for all of us. So Matt and I were thinking that one way we could sort of formulate or structure our time together is by doing an exercise. So first, we are both coming from this place, and I think many of us in this space are, that giving words to grief, finding ways to talk about our grief, finding language to express the experience is an activity that in and of itself is healing. And I have a quote from Shakespeare here that sort of does a much more eloquent job of describing the benefit of talking about the pain that we experience. We are going to begin and experience an exercise called the 6-word grief story. And this is an activity that is present on a lot of different grief social media sites, and amongst many of us that work with people experiencing grief. Though I'm taking the specific slides from a website called What's Your Grief, which is one of my top 5 favorite, if not my actual favorite. They have social media presence on Facebook and Instagram, as well as Twitter. And then they are actually located here in Baltimore as well. So this slide, as you can see, starts with a 6-word grief story. For sale, baby shoes, never worn. And I will say to all of you that the first time I read this, the first time I saw this on my social media feed, it kind of took my breath away. Both in the very succinct way it told a complete story, as well as all of the spaces that it didn't fill in the description. So this has been attributed to Ernest Hemingway, though there's some debate about whether he actually wrote this story or not. But we are using it regardless, whether it was him or someone else. We're using this as a jumping off point for our time together. The story that Mr. Hemingway or someone else wrote has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. And there are many different ways to interpret it, although a lot of them include some sort of loss. I like this activity, and What's Your Grief likes this activity as well, because it's very short and succinct. If you don't think of yourself as a writer, 6 words probably doesn't feel terribly intimidating. One of my favorite classes I took in undergrad was a creative writing class. So clearly I'm a person who likes to write, but my favorite assignments were the highly, highly structured assignments. We had one once where we had to write a complete story using A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc. through the alphabet, 26 sentences, first sentence A, second sentence B, etc. And I love that activity because there was so much structure around it. And yet I needed to find a way to express a story I wanted to tell within that structure. So that's what we are offering all of you today. We are going to play some quiet music with some beautiful graphics in the background. And I would invite you all to think about, what is your 6-word grief story? If that feels daunting or uncomfortable, please do not make yourself write a 6-word grief story. If you start writing a 6-word grief story and it turns into a 672-word grief story, that's okay. It doesn't mean you failed the assignment. This is an invitation to use this structure to find a way to put some words upon the grief that you have and you are experiencing. All right, Matt, I'm going to stop if you want to. I guess first, are there any questions about that?
And what we're going to do is we're going to take these few minutes to kind of pause and let everybody reflect a little bit on their own story and write 6 words or, whatever, 6 to 600, whatever you got. And then we're going to come back and have a chance to share and talk about them a little bit. We've got until the end of the hour. And so we're going to have a chance to be able to have some conversation. And again, like Cora said, write as many of these as you want to. If you have multiple 6-word grief stories, that's okay too. All right, so I'm going to give us a little bit of background video and music. And we're going to take about maybe 7 minutes to do this. All right. You know, back to what Cora was talking about, when we think about why is it useful to express these things? I mean, one thing that I have learned over the years is parents who have had children who are diagnosed with things that people don't normally talk about, or that have children that die. Often families are kind of, they're not welcome to talk about these things in public. And it's hard. And it's hard for other people to hear, and it ends up becoming hard for a parent to practice talking about. And so it's really great to be in an environment like this where you can talk freely, because everybody else who's here gets what you're talking about. And so that's an important piece. And the other important piece is the reason like talk therapy works or journaling works is it takes all of the complicated thoughts and emotions that are vying for attention inside of you, and it kind of forces you to put them into a little bit of order. And when you do that, you get a chance to see what it is that's really going on. You get a chance to identify maybe some particular things. It's not everything that is horrific. There are some particular things that hurt more than others. And when you can do that, then it gives you a chance to maybe work in the direction of those things, as opposed to being paralyzed by everything being bad. So, yeah, I'm going to pause there. Does anybody have any 6-word grief stories they wanted to share with the group?
I will, Kristen will.
Great.
I love this exercise. I try to get too many words, and I'm like a 600-word poem person, although I don't write poems. And so I like trying to just write down those key points in fewer words. And I came up with like my daughter's full stories in 6 words with hopeful anticipation, broken-hearted sorrow, and peaceful release.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to share?
I will. I am not an artist, but I made a sunshine this week, and I'm not a person who knows how to put words onto paper very well in a fashion such as this, but I actually did 4 of them because it just kind of is cool to do this. But the first one I started with is I cheated and put in a small, my heart, full, broken, healed, more full.
Wow.
Another one was, I was uncertain, now I'm sure. But anyway, this is kind of cool. I'm going to keep doing this. This is very therapeutic.
Chris, I think
you.
you need to say now that you are a person who can put words to paper. Those were beautiful.
I'm afraid so, Chris. You're going to have to change your profile description. Yeah.
Oh, I guess it's never too late to teach an old dog new tricks, huh?
Never ever.
Oh, can I ask a quick question? I didn't hear where Chestnut was from, and I'm just so excited to see her. And I heard kind of get Leon's intro, but I didn't hear where Chestnut was from.
Oh, hi. Hi, Christine. I live in Singapore, but I'm from Hong Kong originally.
Thank you. You warm my heart.
Yes, I also joined I think the welcome ceremony the other day, and I saw thanks for this.
You're my heart. Thank you.
I have one that I thought of that I want to share. It's from, some of you probably know the music of the show Hamilton. And some of us, it's too hard to watch that whole show all the way through in one day, right? It's got a lot of emotion built into it. But the song at the end, as he's reflecting on the death of his son, like he's reflecting on so much. The line of there are moments that the words don't reach, which seems a little bit silly to say in an exercise we're talking about words, but there's so much in that. There's moments that the words don't reach.
Is there anyone else who would like to share their grief story?
I have one.
Great.
80 Days of Joy, Forever Hope.
I had another one that I thought of, that a mother that came to our bereavement group for a couple of years, she unwittingly wrote, and she just was angry for years at the death of her son. But the thing that she kept coming back to, she's thinking about her family picture, the family portrait, and she just kept saying, the picture never looks just right. The picture never looks just right.
I have one. I'm never can quite get to the words that I need to get to. So I'm a little wordier, and I'm 7 words. So I did okay, but one extra word. So we'll have to take a mark off for that. But born different, loved unconditionally, lives forever changed.
Well, I just think about those first 2 words, how much of a story that tells. Born different. That's all you got to say. And people say, oh, we know some of that story.
One of the things that's so powerful to me about this particular exercise is the way the language can resonate so clearly for all of us, even though the particulars of each of our stories are so different. I have not had a child die from trisomy, and yet everyone's poem connects in some way to the other griefs that I have experienced. And I am sure that if each of you spoke about the specifics of your grief related to your child with trisomy, the details would be really different. And yet, for those of you who have your camera on, I can see head nodding. I can see the resonance in your eyes in the way that this really connects all of us. I wrote one for my grandmother, and it is, we lost you before you died.
I have one too. It's not as pretty as the other ones I heard, but I put Gabriella never saw the sunlight.
Oh, Daniela, I disagree. That is gorgeous.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that.
Oh my gosh, that brings a tear to my eye.
Hello. Hi. Hello.
Hi, Daniel.
Yeah. Can I introduce my wife?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I would like to introduce my wife because here's my wife. And then she
Hello.
wrote some 6 grave words. We'll just read it out, which
Yes,
is
please.
safe and sound in my heart. Safe and sound in my heart.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then there's
Beautiful.
another word. You are everywhere except right here.
Oh,
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 My
I love
son.
this one.
oh my gosh.
And this is my son. He's been missing his sister so much.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ding, and your wife and your kid.
Mm.
I also am thinking about how unique your stories are and how connected your stories are to any parent who has had a child born different, any parent who has had a child that's died. We in our support groups that we run, we sometimes struggle. We say, "Oh man, I wish that we could have like a whole group just for children that have died of cancer and a whole group just that have died from genetic anomalies or whatever, because all those people have really unique experiences, but we don't have enough staff to be able to run a bunch of groups. And every time we get together, there are people just like this from all different backgrounds and that have diverse stories. Families who have had children that died because of trauma deaths and heart problems and genetic problems and cancer deaths, and some died really young and some died older. And those families connect because the stories connect, and the stories can be wildly different. But the experience of a mom or a dad or a grandma, whatever, the experience of having had a child who was important in your life die is a marking experience, and it's almost like these people can recognize each other across a room, right? And that's the amazing thing about this. We've 50 minutes together is from Singapore and India and Utah, like we're all getting together and able to share a similar story. Any other 6-word grief stories you want to test out with a group?
Mm-hmm.
One that I wrote down, I can't remember if it was it Deb? She's gone now. That went to the Garth Brooks concert.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
would have missed the dance.
I'm so grateful to you all for being willing to engage in this exercise, for sharing, or for having those that you've kept privately for yourselves. This is yet another one of the millions of examples about how much I learn. And there are so many things from this time that we've been able to spend with you that, frankly, there's an interaction I'm going to have next, and I'm taking some of the pieces of this time we've had together into that interaction. So thank you very, very much for that. if people would like to put their poems in the chat, you're very welcome to. We can also check in with Kelly and Terry about the possibility of gathering them together and sharing them. If that's something you'd be interested in, certainly let us know.
I think that would be nice. We did that actually, totally different activity, but we did that with our sons the other day on after we built them or made them, and everybody took pictures later. So if they start a thread in the soft group, it would be nice to be able to, and the soft group as well as the angel group, because I think that many of the things that were said today would be very beneficial to the families that are in the angel group also. And we could just go ahead and type it in there or whatever. If that's easier for Kelly and Terry to do.
That's wonderful, Barb. Thank you so much.
As a group, I think we want to thank you two both also for helping us today.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
You're
It's our
welcome.
honor.
Great to be able to be here.
Thank you all.
Terry and Kelly, I think we're done with our part. If you mentioned you had an announcement or something.
Thank Cora and Matt for being here with us today, and thank all of you for being so open and sharing. This was really beautiful and really moving.